yesterday, and because I don't do anything I'm not supposed to do, it didn't work out so well, did it? Think about it. So, a couple days ago, we learned about something called ad hominem or homonym or homonym. I'm not sure. I assume it's homonym because I've heard the word homonym before. And you know what? We're actually going to learn about that first. We're going to start with the ad hominem because that's all you guys have. All right, so that's not where we're going. I think this is just fascinating, really, because I've been calling it shoot the messenger, and I've been pointing it out left and right. But to know that there's actually there's a word for it, and there's plenty of evidence for it. It's really strange when you think, okay, so yesterday I was literally reading you guys the partition plan, the UN partition plan for Palestine, created in 1947, and or drafted in 1947, implemented in the next few years. But you're going to hear a lot of really sort of crazy shit, and you think yesterday I had a lot of people mad at me, and all I was doing was reading the truth. The truth that the system, that the Jays want us to know. That's the truth I was reading. It wasn't, it wasn't some conspiracy theory. It wasn't some mystery thing, some source you guys couldn't go check out yourself. It was like the narrative, the white bread sort of, no frills, no Alex Jones, no nothing. And you have to ask yourself, why is it? I mean, I always ask that question. Why do people get so mad about my belief in submarines? Why do people get so mad if you say you don't believe the Earth is round, a round ball flying through space? Why does that make people so mad? But this is even more so because this is there's all these people out there that think there's some sort of conspiracy going on, some J conspiracy. And it's to me, it seems like it's really obvious that it's happening and that it's, these are the people committing genocide right now. There's literally a genocide happening. And yet, instead of engaging in anything that has to do with it, we're getting I'm getting ad hominem. And so I want you guys to read or to hear exactly what ad hominem is and then see if it applies. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys will tell me it doesn't apply. Ad hominem, short for argumentum ad hominem, refers to several types of arguments that are usually fallacious, meaning fake. Often currently, I just don't like the way that sounds. Often currently, this term refers, isn't that like redundant? Often currently? I guess not. Often currently, this term refers to a rhetorical strategy where the speaker, well, in this case, the commenters attack the speaker. Where the commenters attack the character, motive, or some other attribute of the person making an argument, me, rather than the substance of the argument itself. This avoids genuine debate and creating a diversion, often using a totally irrelevant but often highly charged attribute of the opponent's character or background. Right? Oh, you smoke. Oh, your haircut. Oh, whatever it may be. Hi, Thomas. The most common form of this fallacy is person A, me, makes a claim of fact. Like I'm reading you, whatever, I'm reading you this. To which B, person B, or random troll commenter B, in my mind, Team Jorge, or a reasonable facsimile thereof. Team Jorge is Israel's cybersecurity, well, cyber apparatus that this is their specialty. And if you look at any sort of conversation, argument, whatever it is on Israel, that's literally all you're going to see is people attacking. Like the main thing, the main like variation is to immediately say somebody is anti-Semitism, and they immediately try to they it's called weaponized anti-Semitism, and it actually has its own Wikipedia page, which again that's them telling you what it is. But person A makes a claim of fact to which B asserts that A has a personal trait, quality, or physical attribute that is repugnant, thereby going off topic, and hence B concludes that A has their fact wrong without ever addressing the point of the debate. Now, if you, I mean, like, that's literally all I get. Other than supporters, the supporters obviously don't do that. But literally every single person that's supposedly against me, all the pedo supporters, all the genocide supporters and whatnot out there, all the slavery supporters, this is literally all they do. It's just amazing. Many contemporary politicians routinely use ad hominem attacks, blah, blah, blah. Other uses of the term ad hominem are more traditional, referring to arguments tailored to fit a particular audience, and may be encountered in specialized philosophical usage. These typically refer to the dialectical strategy of using the target's own beliefs and arguments against them while not agreeing with the validity of those beliefs and arguments. A common misconception, and this is exactly what I've been saying. A common misconception is that an ad hominem attack is synonymous with insult. And I don't think it's an insult. I've said for a very long time, like Ben Armstrong, that's a guy who's been here many, many times. These clowns, these stupid jays come on here, and instead of addressing anything being said, they talk about anything else. And when I'm talking about like, controversial, important, heavy duty kind of shit, and heavy duty shit, and you don't address those arguments and you want to talk about it, you're basically saying, well, you're right about what you're saying, but I want to talk about this instead. Because if you could tell me I was wrong, you would. So, like every single comment that's, meant to be like oh, you're bad, whatever, I appreciate them. If you hate me, but you waste your life on me, that's amazing. That's amazing. So that is ad hominem fallacies are considered to be uncivil and do not help create a constructive atmosphere for dialogue to flourish. An ad hominem attack is an attack on the character of the target who tends to feel the necessity to defend himself or herself from the accusations of being hypocritical. I don't. I actually don't feel the need to defend myself against all of these baseless bullshit accusations. Walton has noted that It is so powerful of an argument that it is employed in many political debates. Since it is associated with negativity and dirty tricks, it has gained a bad fame of being always fallacious. I mean, I agree. It's like when you see Trump ask direct questions, Mr. Trump, what are you going to do about the fentanyl epidemic? Well, Biden is a butthole, and Biden. Yeah. Mr. Trump, what are you going to do about the fentanyl epidemic? But Biden is, and I'm going
to lower gas prices.
I can beat him in golf. He's not a good golfer. Yeah, whatever, dude. But what are you going to do about the fentanyl crisis? We've asked you now 2 times and you've avoided the answer. I know.
Melania is so much prettier.
But Biden, right. And that's it. That's what you saw. That's literally all that doofus has.
How nobody else saw that licks his boots, I just don't get it.
Well, they do. If you really look at the whole narrative, it was like very carefully manufactured so he could win. You know, every negative, stupid thing he did just got ignored. You know, all of it, not a single person brought up COVID. Nobody talks about COVID. I brought it up to a Trump supporter I know, and he was like, no, that was Biden.
Yeah, nobody believes that.
I was like, no, that was Trump. No, that was Biden. Like, I just don't know what the fuck you're doing anymore. You know? Biden took over.
Lock us down.
No.
Trump took office, and we got locked down within a couple weeks of it.
No, that's not it. No.
He took office on the 20th.
No. The
lockdown happened in March, didn't it?
No, it happened it started in March of 2020. So this was at the tail end of his presidency. This was his last year, and then he went into 2021, and then Biden comes in and blah blah. But 2020 was the lockdown. 2020 was when everything really fucking happened. The first recorded case of COVID just happens to be December 1st, of all things. December 1st, 2019. So you look at but it's like, you know, how the hell can anybody have forgotten that? But it's because that's how this whole system works. Ad hominem is a really powerful thing. And to me, I don't understand how it's so powerful. If you're doing that to me, if we're in some sort of debate scenario and you're continuously using I'm just going to point it out. You know, I mean, it's obvious to anyone that's thinking. If somebody, you know, we were talking about my family last night. And at the end of the day, literally everything just comes down to what people want. Right?
Oh, he told me to call her today.
Yeah. It's what people want. People think the way they want to think. You know, they don't it doesn't matter what you present to them. If they're not willing to think that maybe they've been duped or maybe they've been lied to, then they won't think about it. You know, they'll attack you. They'll do whatever. But this ad hominem shit is just, it's so interesting to be able to read it. Like, you know, like I say, I called it to shoot the messenger, but to read it for what it is, like definition, and then see it exactly what's on my page. And when you combine that with Team Jorge, when you combine that with the Samson Option, when you combine that with all of these little pieces, these smoking gun pieces with Cast Thy Bread, how many of you know about Cast Thy Bread? You guys, like, I don't know if you're at all into the J conspiracy, you've heard the term, you know, poisoning the wells. That throughout history, the Jays have been known to poison drinking water systems, throwing poisonous things into water systems so that the people get really, really sick.
So fucking awful.
Oh, it's so horrible. And they will call that libel. They're libel. That's wicked libel. You can't say those things. That's libel. Not even saying that's not true. We never did anything like that. They basically tell you that if you say that, that's the problem, is you saying it. Not that they did it, that you said it. But history will show you that that's what they do. Operation Cast Thy Bread is literally that. It's literally them deciding that they wanted to. I mean, this is pre-Israel. This is 46, 47. Knowing that they're going to be taking over these areas, they poison the well. I mean, think about it. They're poisoning drinking water systems.
Fucking sick. Who does that?
They do.
Oh my God, I can't even.
The Jays do.
Like, I don't care how many times you say it. It just sounds.
It sounds unbelievable. You just can't imagine anybody would do such a horrible thing. Dude is obsessed with Jays and wants to taste the schmeckle so bad. That must be it. But see, there you go. There's your ad hominem right away. What can he do? He can't argue. First of all, he's probably too dumb to even be in the conversation in the first place. But secondly, it's not like you know about these things. It's not like our system has pushed this on us and we've been able to go back and forth or any. Just go look. I'll do it for you. We'll go Operation Cast Thy Bread. I don't even have to put it all in. Okay. Wikipedia. Most importantly, look at that. What's that say? Yeah, so Operation Cast Thy Bread. It's funny because there's no actual. Usually there's words to begin to start it, but so we'll read what it says here. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm saying you are obsessed and have mental illness. Exactly. Instead of engaging in the argument, or even now I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but I have mental illness because I know about things you don't know about. Because I care about people and think that the Jays poisoning wells, these are the people that are committing genocide right now. They're literally committing genocide. These are the people who are in control of whether, of the fluoride that's put in our water. So they're literally poisoning our water systems to this day. Severe mental illness, that must be it. So what you do, you're the type of person that goes to like homes for the mentally ill and you just start picking fights and talking shit to the people. Does that make you the better person? If I have mental illness and you're making fun or talking shit, how does that make me the bad person? And if I have mental illness because I'm talking about historical truth and asking, and you can't do, like, again, shouldn't this be easier for you? Shouldn't it be easier for anybody to be able to, I'm just making this shit up, right? On this locked page, Operation Cast Thy Bread. I'm making it all up. Okay, so type of operation: biological warfare, war crime, ethnic cleansing. That's literally what it says. Location: Palestine, Lebanon, Egypt, and Syria. Commanded by David Ben-Gurion and Yigael Yadin. David Ben-Gurion is the first prime minister of Israel. Target: Palestinian American civilians and allied Arab armies. Date April through December 1948. Executed by Israel, Haganah, and the Israel Defense Force. Which again, I would find this really interesting. How does Israel do it? In 1948, Israel established Israel. The Israelis established Israel. Well, it's not like Palestine was this new place and, the Israelis were off to the side just biding their time. It had been Palestine forever. Like, it's so funny when you hear these idiots argue, there's no such thing as Palestine. What the fuck are you talking about? What a dumb ad hominem argument. Right? You just can't, there's nothing you can come up with, so you're going to attack somebody saying that they're making up something. But if Israel didn't exist, if it wasn't the Americans and the Allied forces, the UK, then who was it? Outcome: Zionist forces cause a typhoid epidemic in Acre and capture the city, infecting dozens of local citizens. When they say dozens, they mean hundreds. Because, dozens is over, you can overcome dozens. Outcome: depopulation of several Palestinian Arab villages. Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. What's your point? I really hope you monetize these streams. If not, wow. What's the point? Obviously, if you guys are watching, my point is being made. I just don't understand. What would you want me to do? What live feeds do you want me to do? You want me to come here and say all the same things everybody else says? The Palestinians made their beds. Really? No, they didn't. And again, I appreciate stupid people coming in and saying stupid things because it just shows you they don't know. Operation Cast Thy Bread was a top secret biological operation conducted by the Haganah. Gee, I wonder how the Palestinians did this to themselves. And of course, this dumbass doesn't mean, he's not going to say anything that matters. He's not going to make any reasonable arguments. It doesn't matter who the fucking person is, who the victims are. If you're the type of people that either do or support poisoning a drinking system, which could affect children, could affect, anybody, you're a piece of shit. Yeah, well, at least they don't cut and suck baby penises, though, huh? And you're saying something that matters? What a delusional freak, says the guy that's here every day. Quick to do the ad hominem because he can't argue anything I'm saying. Conducted by the Haganah and later the Israeli Defense Forces, that began in April of 1948 during the 1948 Palestinian War, which isn't a war at all. The Haganah used typhoid bacteria to contaminate drinking water wells in violation of the 1925 Geneva Protocol. Its objective was to frighten and prevent Palestinian Arabs from returning to villages captured by the Yishuv and making conditions difficult for Arab armies attempting to retake territories. Yeah, that's what it was. The operation resulted in severe illness among the local Palestinian citizens. In the final months of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, Israel gave orders to expand the biological warfare campaign into neighboring Arab states such as Egypt, Lebanon, and Syria. But they were not carried out. Sure they weren't. Why wouldn't they be? Israel Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion and IDF Chief of General Staff Yigael Yadin oversaw and approved the use of biological warfare. Abba Eban, representative of the J Agency for Palestine, strongly denied the operation and sought to block further investigation. See, right there. Right there. If you're the righteous one, if you're doing the good work, you don't encourage people not to look into your work. You don't try to block people from investigation if you're doing the right thing. Like, I feel kind of stupid saying it, but I think like this shit gets missed by a lot of people. I don't think you're paying attention. Tried to block investigations by accusing Arab states of engaging in anti-Semitic incitement, because that's literally all they can do. They don't deny the evidence that's there. They just say, "Oh, you're trying to incite anti-Semitism." But see, that just takes the whole ruse to another level. Because the idea that anti-Semitism is this bad thing. We're talking about a group of an idea. Like, it's not a race. The Jays aren't a race. I don't care how much you want to put your hat on backwards and sag your pants. You can't convert to being black, since those are somehow the things that what it means to be black, apparently. You know, the dumber you look, the dumber you act. That means you're black.
Our thing's not charged, right? Our jump box.
It is.
It is?
Yeah. But think about that. Like, think about how often you see that same argument. Somebody says something, and instead of addressing the thing that would be said, the beef! Jobs are overrated. Work for us. The idea that anybody knows anything. Like, they think they... How does anybody that's on here complain about me not working unless what they're doing is... Like, this is just the... This is the stupidity I'm always telling you guys about. The Jays don't run things because they're smarter than us. It's because they're willing to do the worst things, like poisoning wells. But it's definitely, they're so stupid that they don't realize, like, if I'm not working and you're going to sit here and watch me for hours, either you're not working or it's your job to watch me. Or you're a horrible employee. That could be it. Well, I usually don't acknowledge it, but there are a lot of, you have to remember, there are a lot of people that are new here. And they'll wonder why I don't say anything.
That's one of the best.
What's the difference between Jesus and Hooker? The way they look while getting nailed. Okay. Oh, look. Obviously, so this Neffy guy or Noopy guy, he's so stupid that the last time he was here, he kept using the wrong yours. So now he's coming back today to be like, look, guy, I learned my lesson. I learned. You've been sticking with me for days now. They're reporting because they have nothing else, dude. It's called ad hominem. That's I just read it. It's when people can't make an argument against what you're saying, they do all of this kind of crazy shit. And it's because they know I'm right and they don't want other people to hear it. Israel claimed the award that they have the most humane military. Yeah, they have the most humane military for sure. Seriously, I don't think you could do it in a day. I don't think you could watch all of the different videos that exist that show the Israelis committing war crime. You know, whether it's you know, just whatever. The violation of the Palestinian people is well documented. Let's see. Yeah, call stupid, bro. Blah 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 blah. Yep, it's nonsensical. Me reading to you what they want us to know is not like. Look at how desperate it is. The only reason, again, I pointed out is because, to me, it makes my point. If you're going to sit here, come here day after day, and try to talk shit, but not talk about what I'm saying, you're basically saying you're right about what you're saying. I can't deny it. I can't argue with you. However, I want everybody else to think you're bad because of this or that. Well, you know what? Just for the fun of it, I will. How's that? There you go. Some people will never understand. They do understand. From the river to the sea. Austin, you got to understand, this is so much bigger than Palestine. Palestine is yesterday's story. You know? They're already moving on. They're already committing their genocide against Lebanon, against Syria, against Yemen. They're moving towards Iran. They're desperately, it's not about free Palestine. It's about end Jayism. Right? It's not even end Israel, because Israel's just the invisible house. It's just some invisible fucking lines that they say exist, but they don't exist. I'm talking. I'm not talking. I'm telling you to put me on the phone so I can... Right. So what I should do on my nothing stupid feed is give you the platform so you can what? Vocalize all this dumb shit you type? Apparently you're capable of typing long-winded fucking comments, yet not one of them actually earns that position. I don't go, wow, dude, you're making good points. Hey, why don't I bring you on? Wow, you must be kind of smart. Why don't I bring you on? You're just a lady. What's a J? You'll figure it out. Yep, we have no subs on this in this. The 1,600 people that are subscribed to my channel is actually nothing. It's 1,590 or some shit. I don't know. Austin, come on, use your brain, buddy. They are the chosen people. Like, sub, share. Don't forget to like, sub, and share. Sharing is the most important. Take 2 seconds to share this on Facebook. And share it with the headline like, this guy's crazy. Somebody come tell him how crazy he is, so you don't get in any trouble. Why don't I just tell you? Because I'm not giving the cowards the ammunition they need. Yeah. Okay, you've already said that once, Benji. So wait, this is anti-J talk 100%. 100%. I'm opposed to any cult or any cult that is committing genocide, that believes in slavery, that cuts and sucks on baby penises. I mean, come on, let's be real, man. That is disgusting. How does anybody support that? Seriously. If I told you that your best friend, when you weren't around, they were moonlighting as a baby penis cutter and sucker, would you still be friends with that person? No. You hate Zionism. No, I don't. I hate it. Zionism is the distraction. Oh, I'm sorry about that. No, I hate the Jays. Sorry, hate it all. But I hate all religion. Don't make yourself more important than you are. I hate all religion. I think religion is all slavery and insanity. But when you look at it, the Christians want you to be Christian so they can save your soul. The Muslims want you to be a Muslim so they can save your soul. The Jays want you to be a Christian so you think they're God's chosen people. I hate most people in general. Nah. I celebrated Hanukkah. Do you know what you celebrated? Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Austin, do you know what the celebration of Hanukkah is? Let's see. Did they tell you? Studying college level religion is fun. I mean, we're talking about the problem with doing it in college is that you have to regurgitate what they want you to regurgitate to get your paycheck. When you do it just because you want to learn and you do it skeptically, you see things completely different. It was a fun holiday. So, because you don't know, why don't you just say you don't know? So, Hanukkah is the celebration of around 2,000 years ago, well, a little over 2,000 years ago, actually. This is minus times. Their penis cutting and sucking was outlawed, as it should be. And when you look at it, the whole basis is the three examples given is they were forced to eat non-kosher food, which is, how do you do that? They made them worship on a different day than the Sabbath, which again, how do you police that? How do you know that? How do you stop people from praying in their own head? I'm more inclined to believe a gay person's interpretation of Hanukkah. Okay, well, that's your choice. Now, I'm not going to address any of your shit anymore because I want to get through this. But she has a master's. If she has a master's in it, then she knows all the ins and outs and still chooses to be the most disgusting of the religions. It's disgusting. It's an odd for a non-J person to claim to define what it means to them. Does it occur to you that the information is available? That anybody can go look it up? How about this? How about you pull out another phone or a computer or something, and you look up Hanukkah, and you tell me exactly what I'm getting wrong, okay? Okay? So again, it says the three reasons that the three, amongst other things, the three main things.
Can I interrupt you? Three main things. What do I do with that jump box? I have Nikki, the one that used to work at Exxon, to our boys.
You just hook it up. Turn it on, hook it up. The instructions are in there. So, the three main things were, again, being forced to eat non-kosher food somehow, being forced to worship on a non-Sabbath day somehow, and then they weren't allowed, they had outlawed circumcision. And in the J culture, circumcision is cutting, hello, and then sucking. It's just what it is. It's there's no it's not everyone does it, but more than one person does it. And back then, I'm sure a lot of people did it. So there's a group called the Maccabees. Really chosen J name, huh? If I told you it was the Maccabees, you'd be like, oh, that's J for sure. The Maccabees were a group that decided that they were going to do it anyway. They were going to circumcise, because that was, again, that's in the J religion, in the J cult, circumcision is the number one mitzvah. It's the most important mitzvah. Meaning the females are just trash. And I hope your wife goes to her mitzvah, or to her mikvah every month. Does your wife go to the mikvah to cleanse her disgusting vagina every month? Because that's part of their shit. They have to go to a special bath where they get checked by the attendant to make sure there's no blood, and if there is blood, they have to wait a week. But if there's no blood, then they get into this special. It's like a standing tub, and it's deep enough for you to immerse yourself, but it's standing water. It's not like running. It's old nasty water that has had lots and lots of dirty ass people get into it. And there's a whole bunch of shit that is associated with that, and it's really fucking gross. Like, it's really, really gross. Right? But the Maccabees decided they were going to circumcise. So they circumcised themselves or whatever. And then we're talking about in the Minus days, right? They went around the country somehow, and they knew where all the Jays lived somehow. And they went to all the different Jay farms and plantations and whatnot. And the Jays, the Maccabees, gave the other Jays the option. You can either circumcise right now, circumcise the men, the children, whatever you have, or we will kill you. You either circumcise and join our group, or we'll kill you. And so they went around, obviously, collecting more and more people until they got enough people together that they could invade the Seleucids, or however you say it, Seleucids, I don't know. Where they, after like 10 years, finally won the right to be able to circumcise again. And that's what Hanukkah is. Hanukkah is the celebration of the Maccabees. What about the white colonial tradition of circumcision and subjugation? Oh, I mean, it just depends on where you are, right? You can't be dumb enough to think that all these people all over the planet that were not in contact with each other looked down and thought, my penis doesn't look right. I need to mutilate myself. Like it's crazy. Like you're just foolish. Obviously, the group, who can pulls the strings currently, created all those narratives. And the thing is, none of the other groups have the tradition of sucking on it. Right? The whole idea of sucking on it just takes it to the fucking end. That's disgusting. IDK, if your entire argument falls apart when you clearly don't understand for anything other than hate. Yep. See, you have nothing to say. Now you're just mad because you're forced to support child mutilation and molestation. Next time you go to a bris, which you probably won't because you won't be invited, pay attention as the moil cuts and then sucks on it. I mean, again, you just have nothing, right? Just pointing out hypocrisy. What hypocrisy? I don't suck baby penises and cut them. I don't think women's vaginas are disgusting and need to be cleansed once a month. I don't believe in myself being some chosen by God people and everyone else is beneath me and goyim. Understand, you're the one that believes all the crazy shit. You don't mention the... Okay, so obviously you've been completely brainwashed by your J wife. Because isn't it funny how you didn't, your wife didn't come to you. You had to go into her shit. She didn't go, you know what? My cult that I belong to looks at you as a goyim. You're nothing. You're here to service me, and I don't want to be a part of that shit anymore. So I love you, and I'm gonna be with you. She didn't say that. You have to observe her crazy J customs and shit. And when we're talking about Catholicism and or even Islam, we're talking about the three Abrahamic religions. Abraham is the father of the J people. The other two are the peasant religions. They gave them to us. Christianity comes out of Second Temple Jayism. And the fact that they touch kids sort of goes along with the whole... Hey, let me ask you, who controls Hollywood? You ever seen a movie called... I know you haven't. I like and respect her religion because you're a fool. You're a fool. Because you don't know it. You go ahead and ask her any of this shit I'm talking about. Ask her about the Talmud. And why is it okay? Why is it not okay if a goyim rapes a child? But if a J rapes a child, As long as they're 3 years and 1 day old, he has to pay the full dowry. Right? He has to, and now that child sort of belongs to him. Not like marriage, but kind of like marriage. But that child now belongs to him because he paid the full dowry. It doesn't say anything about executing him. Ask her about it. Sir, you honestly need help. Yep. Oh man, I need help because I know things. Oh, let's talk. Why would we talk in person? I don't need to talk to your goofy ass. If you have something to say it here so everybody can hear it, see it. If you can prove me wrong in front of everybody. Do a better job than the slave. My wife says. Oh, my wife says. You're just a dumb goyim and you don't even know it. Her family, everybody looks at you like you're a piece of shit. You're a dumb goyim. Ask her what a goyim is. Ask her if she thinks you're a goyim. Yep, college degree, meaning she went to a place so she could regurgitate a bunch of shit that what? I mean, again, nothing I've said is conspiracy theory. Nothing I've said is not true, so I don't understand. What does the college degree have to do with any of it? This is all factual information that anyone can find. You don't have to go to college to find this. It's available. You mean she got educated using objective it is. I know school teaches you not to regurgitate and fall in line, but to think critically and ask questions and all that shit. Come on now. I mean, so you're okay with the penis cutting and sucking? You don't seem to be okay with it because your immediate response is, well, what about all the white priests? Yeah, the white priests are disgusting. What does that have to do with the Jays cutting and sucking penises? Baby penises. Well, this is ad hominem, guys. You're seeing it all over. The idea that I can't answer what you're saying, so I'm going to go, oh, well, my wife has college degree. It's the college. That's ad hominem. That's exactly what it is. You can't answer for the argument, so you just start making up your own nonsense. It's so commonplace. It's crazy. Most degrees are just compensation tests. Exactly. Comprehension test. And compensation. Because you got to pay for that shit. Yeah. No, the one side is more. Yeah. I mean, look at this shit. Look at this. I actually thought we had someone that was maybe going to try a little harder. But no, it's the same old stupid shit. Right? It's just stupid. Like, why wouldn't you hate this cult? They don't like you. And never mind the genocide happening right now, right? Never mind the genocide. Never mind the well poisoning. Never mind the Samson Option. Never mind Team Jorge. Never mind $3.8 billion a year going to this first world country so they can murder people. I'll debate you, but you don't. So the only way that you could actually make a decent point is if you were talking to me in person. Yeah, I must not have the wits then, huh? I'm not falling for the crazy Yahtzee I've talked to. Again, what are you even talking about? You're repeating yourself over and over. That's stupid, man. Yep, that's what it is. Look at how desperate these fucking idiots are. Which is crazy because I just don't understand it. Unless you're a piece of shit, Jay, I can't understand what you're even arguing. You know, they put all of us in slavery. We're all victims. The amount of money that's being spent on Israel every day, our two largest aircraft carriers are over there right now. Permanently stationed over there. How much money do you think it costs to run those things every single day? We've given them over $18 billion since October of 2023. On top of the $3.8 billion a year, and on top of all sorts of military equipment and all that other shit. Look at this shit. Look at this crazy shit. So here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna read ad hominem again, just so we can address everything that's happening right now. So ad hominem. Okay, so here we are. Short for argumentum ad hominem refers to several types of arguments that are usually fallacious. Often, currently, the term refers to a rhetorical strategy where the speaker attacks the character, the commenter attacks the character, motive, or some other attribute of the person making the argument rather than the substance of the argument itself. Okay? If you're not seeing that, I really don't know what you're seeing. This avoids genuine debate by creating a diversion, often using a totally irrelevant but often highly charged attribute of the opponent's character or background. The most common form of this fallacy is me, person A, me, makes a claim of fact, like, I don't know, Hanukkah is the celebration of being allowed to cut and suck baby penises. Right? To which B, person B, that's commenters, assert that A, me, has a personal trait, quality, or physical attribute that is repugnant, thereby going off topic, and hence B, you, the commenter, concludes that A, me, has their fact wrong without ever addressing the point of the debate. If that doesn't completely explain and capsulize what's going on here, like, I don't know what is. Howard Stern, that's a great point. Isn't it just an amazing coincidence that the one character that's like Howard Stern, that's allowed to be rich and famous and allowed to violate all the rules and allowed to do this and allowed to do that, just happens to be a J? Nobody else is allowed to get away with what Howard got away with. If they could, then they'd be famous too. A common misconception is that ad hominem attack is synonymous with insult, and I absolutely don't think it is. I think every time somebody says anything other than what I'm talking about, it's a compliment. You know? They're telling me, hey, we know, like, you're what you're saying, you're right about that. We can't argue that. However, you're stupid. Like, that's literally what every single one of these comments is. It's just stupidity. And it's desperation. They're doing everything they can to try to shoot the messenger so that if there are people on here that might be, you know, on the fence or you know, questioning these things themselves, that all these great points I'm making, well, I must be crazy. So if I'm making sense to you and I'm crazy, that must mean you're crazy. So you go, oh, no, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. Fuck this guy, and you leave. That's their point. That's their goal. If what I was saying was wrong and their goal was to educate or literally anything other than, you know, try to affect you, because they know they're not going to affect me. They know they can't rattle my fucking, you know, rattle me or rock my boat. So they're hoping that the people that are new are going to have a real hard time with the crazy idea. Look at it. Just look. Not a single goddamn comment addresses anything I'm saying. So, back to Operation Cast Thy Bread. We'll start over. Operation Cast Thy Bread was a top secret biological warfare operation conducted by the Haganah. Let's see what the Haganah is. Haganah, the defense, was the main Zionist paramilitary organization that operated for the Yishuv in the British Mandate for Palestine. It was founded in 1920 to defend the Yeshuv's presence in the region and was formally disbanded in 1948 when it became the core force integrated into the Israeli Defense Force, IDF, shortly after the Israeli Declaration of Independence. Formed out of previous existing militias, think about this. Just think about this when you think about. Isn't it funny how Trump pardoned the January 6th people? Boy, that's a strange, you know, prediction come true. Like I told you guys from the beginning, those people aren't going to get in any trouble. Those people are actors. That's why they were allowed to do it. Anybody that tries to go kick in a door at the fucking Capitol building or whatever, you're going to get shot. You're going to get shot really quickly. And yet, nope. If you paid attention, you would see those people running through the maze that was that building. Every time they weren't supposed to go down a hallway, there'd be a person in a blue shirt standing there. So they knew which way to go. It's a maze down there. How would they have gotten where they needed to go otherwise? Formed out of existing militias, Haganah's original purpose was to defend J settlements against Arab attacks. Sure it was. This was the case during the 1920 Nibi Musa riots, 1921 Haifa riots, 1929 Palestine riots, 1936 Haifa riots, 1936 through 1939 Arab revolt in Palestine. I mean, this is just nuts. It's nuts that they put it out here like this, and you guys just fall for it, pretending you have facts. Yep, I'm making this up, right? Making it up. I can't even have edited this page because it's all locked up, but still, I'm making it all up. Yeah. So I just read you guys ad hominem to show you exactly what's going to happen as I keep talking about this shit. I'm just reading the narrative that you guys want written or read. This is Haganah. This page is locked too, so I can't change this page. This is all exactly what the system wants us to know. Right? The paramilitary, under the control of the J Agency, the official government body in charge of Palestine's J community during the British era. I mean, just imagine, let's just say they were a race, right? They're not, but let's say they were. Imagine, let's actually make it more accurate. Imagine if today, I don't know, the Branch Davidians decided that they wanted to break free and just be left alone, do their own thing, and worship the way they wanted to worship. Do you think that they would get all of this fanfare? And wait, the Branch Davidians. What happened? Oh yeah, they were executed. There was literally no gunfire that came out. All of the gunfire that was recorded in the Waco shit came from the outside in. Killing children and shit. Until the end of World War II, Haganah's activities were moderate in accordance with the strategic policy of Havlaga, self-restraint, which caused the breakaway of more radical paramilitaries, Irgun and Lehi. Haganah militants received clandestine military support from Poland. Why? And sought cooperation with the UK in the event of an Axis-led invasion of Palestine through North Africa, prompting the creation of Palamach, their elite fighting force in 41. It's kind of like how, you know, they did all this just in case there was some sort of thing where Palestine was invaded and the Jays were given control, just in case that were to happen. Kind of like how all of 2023 was this weird setup that, in protest of the fact that the Israeli judicial system and the the judicial branch and the executive branch weren't necessarily getting along, and the executive branch was going to limit the ability to scrutinize, that was the quote, limit the ability to scrutinize the the executive branch's decisions. The people had protests every Saturday for 2023 up until October 7th. They had these huge festival parties, protests, where people were selling food, there were rides, there were bathrooms brought in. They didn't like it. Like, I love when they say, they were shooting the water hoses on them. No, they weren't. It was super hot, and they were spraying them with water from the water hoses, but there was no pressure. They were, protesting by blocking up a freeway and lighting a big bonfire on a freeway. When black people do that, they're thugs and hooligans. When the Jays do it, they're freedom fighters. And again, this is all because the judicial branch and the executive branch weren't getting along. Can you imagine that happening here? But one of the keys to it was the judicial overall. The same thing's happening with Trump. Like, literally, if you wanted to, a criminal under indictment for multiple crimes was put in power only to erase the ability for those crimes to, it's not that they get rid of the crimes. They don't pardon themselves. They make it so people in their position can't be charged with those crimes, so their crimes were invalid. That's exactly what Israel did, and that's exactly what Trump's doing. That's what Netanyahu did. But part of the protests every Saturday was that all of these Israelis, because they're all at 18, they all have to serve the military.
Dad, tell Nathan to stop being unfun.
Nathan, stop being unfun. Stop. Nathan, what's the problem?
My entire turn. We do all.
Hey, you know what? I got a solution. Yep, shut it off.
No, Dad.
No. If you guys can't do it right.
No, we're trying. But Dad, he's mad because he had to switch off from buddies. Because
Okay.
every single time it's Kirby, I have to be Kirby.
Okay, that's not a fair thing.
No, that's
you have
not
to
it.
you have to take turns.
We take hourly switches. Nick did every little thing to waste as much time as possible.
How could he waste time?
So he would, when we're going to a planet, instead of going directly to him, he'd look around the entire thing.
So Nick, you did that?
Yeah, to get stars, to get.
Okay, but you already know the whole layout, right? You know the layout. You know there's no. Why don't you admit that you were wasting some time?
I kept saying I was sorry, and he's.
Okay, but if you kept saying you were sorry, then what's that mean?
That I was sorry after.
Really? If you keep doing it after you say you're sorry?
No, that's not what happened.
Yes,
I
that
said
was.
sorry after when we switched.
Yeah, after.
Okay, after he switched, but I'm sure he complained. Stop talking.
And then it was.
I'm sure he complained about it the whole time, right?
Yeah. He thinks what we should do is just go.
Nick, that's not true.
But to go to the boards directly instead of going across the entire universe to get them.
Okay, this is stupid.
Okay, can you tell Nathan to actually just play?
Nate, play. You want him to play. You want him to be this. You want him to be that.
No, you're making it mad. No, he's getting mad because it's just us two instead of the 4 characters. But why do we need that? We don't. Because we need all the abilities.
Doesn't he get to pick too?
No, I'm Kirby. This is exactly.
Okay. I know you get your Kirby, but if he's gonna play with you, it's not like when you're Kirby, you just get all the say, right?
That's what he does. No.
If that's what he does, then we address that at that time, right?
I can't pick a single guy.
Okay, if that's what happens, then that needs to be addressed when that's happening, not in the future, past, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you are being unreasonable, and you know you are.
We don't need all the characters. So. Yes, we do.
Nathan, stop it. If he wants them, what's the problem with having them? How does that make it worse?
We have extra help.
Stop. How does it make it worse?
It doesn't, but it doesn't make it better.
Maybe to you.
No, maybe too. Oh my God! I'll just be Kirby from now on because it doesn't matter.
Okay, if you're just gonna give up like that, then you can't be upset about the outcome.
Doesn't matter. He's gonna cry if I'm not.
There you go. You got your way, and it wasn't because you're right or because you're being good. It's because he just doesn't feel like it. Now, I'm telling you guys this. If you do this again, we're just gonna shut it off. Okay? Hello? Hello? Is anybody? You guys aren't listening now?
No, Dad.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay, so come on back, because I didn't say I was done.
What, Nathan?
So now you're just going to get upset about everything? Okay, well, you better change your attitude. If this continues, Nathan, if this continues and you keep being unreasonable, then you just lose it. If it's worth it to you to lose it so that you can have your way 100% of the time, then it's worth it, I guess.
It's not going to be unreasonable.
All right. Gotta handle these things. Don't want to, but have to, because as stupid as it may be, it's important, and it's not just about the dumb game. It's about the and that's what I'm trying to argue when I said, you're gonna walk away. You can't be upset about it because we're trying to fix the dynamic. Oh. All right. So anyway, one of the things that the Israelis did, part of their protest, was that because again they're all at 18, they all have to serve in the military, so they all become reservists. After service, all of the citizens are considered reservists. Well, leading up to October 7th, in crazy number, thousands and thousands of them, as a form of protest, were allowed to commit desertion, right? They were allowed to desert their position. They were allowed to say, as protesting the tiff between the two sides of the government, if there happens to be, I don't know, an all-out invasion of Gaza that turns into a genocide, we're not doing it. I am not going to participate. They could have picked anything in the world to protest, and if this were to happen, if that were to happen. They just happened to pick the one thing that did. Which means, which became an issue. And not to worry, Jake Sullivan, Attorney General Jake Sullivan, is he the Attorney General? No. He's something. Can't remember. He reassured the Israelis that whoever, in protest and in legal form of protest deserts their reservist position, which is a crime, you get arrested for that the Americans will back it up. We'll send troops to cover however many troops they lose. We'll send twice as many over. You guys all big fans of American kids, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids being sent to go die for Israeli bullshit? That's what's happening. All right, following the end of World War II, the British refused to lift restrictions on J immigration that they had imposed with the 1939 White Paper. So the Brits were like, we don't want them. This resulted in Haganah leading a J insurgency against the British authorities in Palestine. Just, again, imagine this in any other way. Imagine it in any other way. How do you think it would be recorded? Do you think it would be this thing that's championed and talked about in such a good light? The campaign included paramilitaries' bombings of bridges, railways, and ships used to deport illegal J immigrants. deporting the illegal immigrants. So basically Mexico, if the Mexicans started attacking the Americans and bombing bridges and all that shit, railways and all that, because we were deporting the illegal ones, the ones that came here illegally, how well do you think that would go over? How well do you think your buddy Doofus Trump would handle that? After the adoption, illegal J immigrants, as well as assisting in bringing more diaspora Js to Palestine in defense of British policies.
Should that stay in the car? Or should we
No. I'll get it in a minute. After the adoption of the United Nations Partition Plan for Palestine in 1947, funny how they did this partition plan where they divided up Palestine before the military action that made it so. Haganah came into the open as the biggest fighting force among the Palestinian Jays, successfully overcoming Arab militias during the Palestinian Civil War. It's funny how, like, the wars have the same names all over the world. You know, that's why they called their war the Civil War. Gosh, that's strange. Were they big fans of the Civil War here?
Well, isn't it just by definition now?
No.
Civil wars between the civilians of the same nation.
Well, then there would be lots of them. Shortly after the beginning of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, Haganah was merged with other paramilitary groups and reorganized into the official military force of the State of Israel. The State of Israel. Isn't that weird?
I don't like it how they call it that. That really makes you feel
They're a united state. Smotrich said, recently when Biden criticized the genocide.
I thought they were a country.
Smotrich said that Biden needs to mind his own business because Israel is no longer a star on the American flag. That's a very specific thing to say. And I've never heard another foreign politician say something like that. So why do you think he said that? Let's see, because I'm proven wrong every 5 seconds. Show me one thing that proves anything I'm saying, because I'm making all of this up. I love that dumb narrative, right? I love it. How am I wrong when this is what it says? I didn't make this up. I can't even adjust this shit. Oh, the State of Israel. Yet again, another locked page, so nobody can fucking address it. Nobody can adjust anything. Israel, officially the State of Israel, is a country. Why would you call a country a state? In the southern Levant region of West Asia. I never would have thought of Israel as an Asian.
How does that work?
It's on the western part of it, I guess. It is bordered by Lebanon and Syria to the north, the West Bank and Jordan to the east, the Gaza Strip and Egypt to the southwest, and the Mediterranean Sea to the west. It's fucking paradise. The country also has a small coastline on the Red Sea at its southernmost point, and part of the Dead Sea lies along its eastern border. Israel's proclaimed capital is in Jerusalem, which Trump did that. Remember when Trump signed the official legislation making Israel the capital of Jerusalem the capital of Israel?
I thought Jerusalem was supposed to be its own independent, like DC.
Neutral kind of place. Yeah. And why would Trump have any sort of authority over the capital of Israel? Unless
he's the greatest friend to the Israeli people.
Or they're a state. Wouldn't the president have to recognize if say, Michigan made Detroit its capital over Lansing?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't the president have to sign like official legislation and all that stuff? Huh, that's interesting. That's the point of doing this, right? because there are points like that get made that you never even really think about until it's there. Yeah, the exact same lines of Asia are kind of muddled. The exact lines of Asia are kind of muddled due to the diverse land cultures in the area. Some argue it stretches as far as Caucasus and the Middle East. Others draw the line in India and upward. Who gives a fuck? I don't care. All that shit is just shit we're told. That has nothing to do with us. There's nothing you can do about it. That's just more shit you're told. You are this label. You are this label. The country also has while Tel Aviv is the country's largest urban area and economic center. Wasn't Tel Aviv the capital before? Israel is located in a region known to the Jays as the Land of Israel, synonymous with the Palestine region and the Holy Land. In antiquity, it was home to the Canaanite civilization, followed by the kingdoms of Israel and Judea. Situated at the continental crossroad, whatever that is, the region experienced demographic changes under the rule of empires from the Romans to the Ottomans. European anti-Semitism in the late 19th century galvanized Zionism. Oh, that's what it was. It was just a response. Zionism was just a response because they were being so persecuted for absolutely no reason. That just makes more sense than, they do shit that alienates them, like cutting and sucking baby penises, and people think that's awful. So, no, it's not that. Galvanized, which sought a J homeland in Palestine and gained British support. Makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. After World War I, Britain, see, this is what I always tell you. So before I even read anymore, World War I was all about establishing British Mandate Palestine, putting Britain in charge of Palestine. There were other things that happened, blah, blah, blah. But there's literally nothing that's as concrete as this, as cut and dry as this. Like, it just makes no sense. Why would the British suddenly need to take control of Palestine? What was the benefit? What was the purpose? Seems like it's a lot like, it's not like British, the Britons were, it's not like British Mandate this, that, and the other was created. But what they did was put Britain in charge of Palestine, which negated any sort of Palestinian military government, anything, because it was all done by the Brits. The Brits protected them. The Brits, they probably did a bunch of like smaller scale kind of shits where they made it look like the British were actually defending the Palestinians. Maybe had some fake Jays do some fake shit and then pretend like the Jays got blah, 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 whatever. But they put the British in charge of Palestine so the Palestinians would become completely dependent on the British. They'd get fat. They'd get lazy. They didn't know how to defend themselves. It was 30 years. 30 years the Brits were in charge. A little more than 30 years, actually. Well, no, a little less. Sorry, a little less. Just right around 30 years exactly. 1919, whatever it was established, to 1947. So just under 30 years. And by doing that, this weakened the Palestinians like completely. They were so, it would be like something happening in one of our states, and the fat, lazy piece of shit Christians had to defend themselves against a full-on, well-funded, well-equipped military. They were just completely defenseless, right? I honestly think it's beneficial for Israel to muddle the lines of where it actually is in the world. Makes it easier for them to claim more land. Well, I mean, you saw that happen in 2022 when when they discovered that oil fields were on the other side of this lake, but it was Lebanese territory. So Israel at first were doing that Mr. Burns drilling sideways thing, but then they just decided to take over the land. They took over the land specifically because they discovered oil there, and they wanted that oil so they could sell it to the Brits. Yeah, I agree. It's annoying. There's more pressing things to worry about than the nitty-gritty of land borders. The article you're reading literally contradicts itself on whether or not it's... Who gives a fuck? Again, you're the one that's distracting yourself. We've long since moved past that. But this is what they do, man. So they put the British in charge of Palestine, and you have to understand, Albert Pike laid it out. World War I would happen, this would happen, this would happen, World War II would happen, this would happen, this would happen, and long after that, World War III would happen. We're waiting for it. I think we're on the verge of it because the only time you get world wars is when Israel is involved. So, British Mandate Palestine was created. Palestinians became weak and dependent, so that when World War II happened and they manufactured this bullshit excuse, the Holocaust. I mean, it's like, explain it to me. Explain to me how, because of something a German supposedly did, the Palestinians then lost their land as a result. How does that begin to make sense? They're not even close. There's like nothing, there's literally no connection there. At least no surface connection. But once they had their excuse now, the Holocaust and blah blah blah. Now when they turn the Brits around and they say, okay, the people that were protecting you are now attacking you, the Palestinians had no choice. They had nothing, just like they have nothing now. Frieza, hello, monkeys! That's how you should come in here. What's wrong with you? You're going to call yourself Frieza, and you're not going to come in with a hello, monkeys. Come on, man. You got to be better than that. Hello, monkeys! Frieza's the best character in the show. Fucking. And Frieza is the epitome of the Jays. He just was that strong. He never had to train or anything. And imagine if he trained, then he becomes Black Frieza. Or Gold Frieza first, then Black Frieza. And the thing is, again, I think the most important thing any of you can watch, the most important thing any of you can do as far as, it's funny that the wife, the husband of the Jay, he sure ran away with his tail between his legs. But the one thing all of you should do is look up a movie called Hollywoodism. It's all over YouTube. You won't struggle to find it. Hollywoodism. Hollywoodism explains everything. And it does it the best way possible. Because it's not like it's me making Hollywoodism. It's not like it's some Goyim making Hollywoodism to expose this corruption, this conspiracy. No. The Jays made it to brag. It's a braggadocious. It's a film that's for bragging. I highly suggest you go watch it. It'll answer all the questions. It literally lays it all out for you. And it explains everything. But let's see. Okay, so we're back here. I just made a bunch of lies, right? I just made up a bunch of lies. Here we go. Some more ad hominem, right? Christian Wagner. You got nothing, so you go with some desperate, stupid nonsense. Gotta love it. Thank you. Thank you for the ad hominem. It makes my argument for me. After World War I, Britain occupied the region and established mandatory Palestine. What the fuck, mandatory Palestine? In 1920. Oh, okay, so 1920. I thought it was 18 or 19. Increased J immigration in the lead up to the Holocaust and the British colonial policy and British colonial policy led to the intercommunal conflict between the Jays and the Arabs. Oh, is that what it is? British policy, that's what the conflict did. The conflict isn't much older than this and all based in Jay supremacy. No. It's because of the fucking the British colonial policy. Oh. Which escalated into a civil war in 1947 after the UN proposed partitioning the land between them. We'll read about that, but understand the partition says that all of that Palestine, this land where people are living, you know, like kind of like the US, right? But people were here or were in Palestine. They had their lives there. Generation after generation of family had lived there in the same spots. You know, these family lands have been transferred from member to member for decades. It's not like it is now, where you buy a new house and no, your family land stayed in family hands forever. People lived there because of World War II and the Holocaust, like it says. They just decide that 56% of Palestine should now belong to the Jays. Even though the Arabs had double the population of the Jays. And yet, the UN just sort of decided this. The Arabs were boycotting it. They were like, hey, this is bullshit. This is our land. We don't need to just give it up. What are you talking about? And the Jays just went ahead and did it anyway. Think about how crazy that is. The Ottoman Empire fell after World War I. When we're talking about World War I and all that shit, we have to take it all with a grain of salt. You have to look at who seemingly benefited from all of it. I mean, we all know the winners write the history, right? So if the history is all about how great the Jays are and how they overcame all these odds and they were persecuted, but all of that shit, who do you think wrote it? After the failure of the UN's 1947 partition plan, oh, I didn't know it failed, and the end of the British mandate for Palestine, Israel declared independence on May 14th, 1948. May 15th, 1948 is the Nakba. I keep asking, how does Israel declare independence when there is no Israel? It's a place where other people live. How does that work? Neighboring Arab states invaded the area the next day. The next day it was the Arab states that invaded the area. I mean, remember, this is the area where the Jays had done Operation Cast Thy Bread and poisoned the fucking drinking water, making it easier to capture, because they wouldn't have been able to capture these places if they didn't have that advantage. If people weren't too sick to be able to defend themselves, then this, I mean, come on, the Jays are like pussies. That's why all they do is drop bombs from planes. And then go in afterward in full military gear, shooting anything that moves, and then finding the female underwear drawers and either putting them on over their military fatigues or just holding them up and taking pictures. You think I'm wrong? Go look that shit up. This is like a really popular thing for them to do. is to put on women's underwear, which is, again, probably why in Hollywood it's so funny to have men dressed like women. Isn't that funny? Because they're the ones that think that stupid shit's funny. Just like they're the ones that like musicals and shit. Who likes a fucking musical? Other than women and gay guys. Neighboring states invaded the area the next day, beginning the first Arab-Israeli war. Which, by the way, directly connected to Epstein. Do you guys know that? Well, Palestinians are completely at fault here, but their land definitely did get displaced. But how are they at any sort of fault other than they live there? You know, the whole J narrative, the whole what most people don't understand is that up until they just happened to find the Dead Sea Scrolls in 46, 47, gee, that's weird. What a coinkydink. The oldest known religious texts only date back to around 900 AD. Meaning, for the first 900 years, this was just a big-ass game of telephone. Nobody wrote it down. Or it wasn't a thing. And really, I'm so far beyond... 900 AD and all that other bullshit. It's all lies. But understanding that it's, everything you think you know is really just bullshit narrative. You have no reason personally to believe in anything Jesus. None. I know there are crazy people out there that say God talks to them. Well, you need to go get fucking checked out. And if you think God answers your prayers, he doesn't. God doesn't answer prayers. God answers tithing. But if you're arrogant enough to believe that, and you think anything in your miserable fucking life is more important than stopping the church, the clergy in God's house from raping children, your arrogance is on a level I can't relate to. Faith is all you need, yo. Says the Diddy profile. Prayers have never been answered. Miracles don't exist. Exactly. Why do you think that in the age of cell phones, you don't hear about stigmata anymore? Why isn't stigmata happening anymore? Right? There's no such thing. Like, if you think prayers work, again, people, I'll pray for you. If you think prayers work, even a little bit, and maybe God only answers 1 out of 1,000 prayers, then you should have 1,000 out of 1,000 prayers be, please stop the clergy from raping children. But we're all God, Jesus, that's all Second Temple Jayism BS. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Anyway, neighboring Arab states, and subsequently, armistice agreements established Israeli control over 77% of the former Mandate territory. How? How does this place just exist for hundreds of years, thousands of years? And then because of what supposedly happened in Germany, the Israelis they didn't exist, so I don't even know how they were the Israelis, now have 77% of the country. Can you imagine that? Somebody comes to your house and they're like, all right, you go live upstairs. You get about half the upstairs area. We're taking over 77% of this. This is ours now. You're just supposed to be like, okay, I'll get all my stuff and go. Thanks a lot for letting me have that 23%. You sure are generous. The majority of the Palestinian Arabs were either expelled or fled in what is known as the Nakba, or they were killed. Funny how they leave that out. With those remaining becoming the new state's main minority. Well, again, it's like they have these work permits, right? And every day the Palestinians have to come through these Israeli checkpoints and all this like really invasive, disgusting sort of shit so that they can come be mistreated and underpaid all day. And then at the end of the day, they have to leave Israel. So they go back through a whole bunch of checkpoints and searches and all that shit. Well, in order to be allowed to do that, they end up paying about half of their wages each month so they can have the work permit to be allowed to do that. And the crazy thing is, I don't know if you've noticed, but Israel hasn't been complaining about any sort of economic hardships or anything as a result of a large portion of their workforce being genocided, killed. Well, again, this is just one of those things that I guess you don't know. But back in early 2023, I think it's 2023, it might have been 2022, Israel bought 42,000 supervised laborers or slaves from Delhi, from India. 38,000 were, quote, earmarked for construction jobs, while the other 4,000 were, quote, earmarked for elderly care, because even they don't want to take care of their own elderly because it's awful. They're horrible, mean people. They bought 42,000 slaves. That's why there's no disruption in everyday Israeli life. It's crazy. I don't care if you call them supervised laborers. If they're not allowed to get a different job, that's a slave. Am I wrong? You know, and it makes it easier for them because if, you know, a lot of the things that they've done over the years is they would dress up like Arabs or whatever. Well, the only way you can dress up like an Arab is if you look just like an Arab without clothes on. Because they're all the same. They're all from the same region. They're all the same people. And yet, I'm sure that made it a little more difficult to mistreat them compared to the Indians, who are going to be like, obviously not them. You'll be able to obviously identify who the slaves are and who aren't. Do you know that a common practice in Israel is for Israeli men to spit on Christians and non-Jays as they walk around through town? All sorts of videos exist that show you, some non-Jays, some goyim, sitting outside their house or whatever, working on something, doing something, and Jays just walk up and spit on them. Walk as they're walking, like going to wherever they go, blah blah blah, and they just like it's nothing. It's like waving hello, like right. And of course, the people can't do anything about it because anything they do, the IDF steps in right away and either kills them or arrests them. But when asked, okay, because it was back when they were pushing Israel into the visa waiver program, which basically makes it so Israelis can come to the United States without any sort of visa bullshit and just, they don't have to do anything. They're basically American citizens. Except they have like diplomatic immunities and shit like that. But the visa waiver program, they were basically forcing that to happen. They were just overlooking everything they could, and they were forcing that to happen. I forgot the point I was making, and I'm hoping it'll come back to me. Thanks, Silverboat. Watch it. If you're watching, like, share, and sub. Help out, man. They're not going to give me the platform I need. And if I'm wrong, I say this every time. If I'm wrong, bring me on TV. Set me in front of a panel of your smartest people. Let me make my points. And then if I'm wrong, they'll say so. Anyway, they bought 42,000 slaves. And like I say, now they're easily identifiable, so they can just treat them like shit. Part 7 of being a waste of society, right? Again, I'm a bad, awful person because I think we should stop genocide and eliminate the slave masters. What a waste I am. Too bad I'm not some troll looking for random feeds on YouTube so I can go talk shit. That would make me a fucking positive member of society, right? Dumb Jays. You always know who the dumb Jays are because, they get mad. Who else is going to get mad at what I'm saying? Who else doesn't want people knowing about this shit? Do you know that in 2021, they changed the spelling of anti-Semitism? If you think about it, you'll remember. Your whole life and for 140 years, anti-Semitism was spelled A-N-T-I hyphen capital S-E-M-I-T-I-S-M. It was originally coined in the 1800s, 1880s, and it was basically, if you look at history repeats itself. It was basically what's happening now. The Jays were in disproportionate control and were just awful human beings. And so anti-Semitism was a rallying cry because it was opposing Semitism. Can I see your phone for a second? Now, I know people love to hide behind me telling lies or some shit. So we're going to do this, right? We're going to go new tab. We're going to pull up the Google machine. We're going to put in Semitism, S-E-M-I-T-I-S-M, Semitism definition, right? We're going to go to the Merriam-Webster, Semitism definition, Merriam-Webster. 1A, Semitic character or qualities. 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. Number 2, most important, policy, which is the rules and regulations, or predisposition, which is the way that you go into the situation thinking, favorable to the Jays. Okay? It's supremacy. It says it in its definition. Semitism is supremacy. Semitism is all of the rules and regulation and all of I'm trying to think of a better word for predisposition. Like the way that you go into the situation. If you go, oh, is that situation involving Jays? Okay, well, they get whatever they want then. That's the if you a bias, right? If you go into if you are told that you're going to go see a scary movie, right? And it's Friday the 13th and it's blah 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 whatever. You go into it with the predisposition that you're going to be scared by the movie you see. You go into it thinking that way. That's what predisposition is. So, when the policy and the narrative going into it is favorable, that is supremacy. That is supremacy, guys. So, anti-Semitism was spelled A-N-T-I hyphen S-E-M-I-T-I-S-M up until 2021. when they had, held hearings, legislation was passed to change the spelling from ANTI-Semitism. I mean, capitalizing the S is even more profound, right? It's telling you to ANTI-Semitism. All one word, all lowercase. Why? The stated reasoning was they didn't want people, Goyim, to think anti-Semitism opposed something called Semitism. They did not want you to know that Semitism was a thing. How many other words have you ever heard about that the spelling got changed? That there was legislation, government activity to manufacture that narrative, to ensure that was changed. And then think about how much work that then involves. You have to now go back and change the text and everything else, books and all that, everything from now on has to be printed one way, and then everything that all the government.orgs, this, that, and the others, all that spelling has to be changed. Think about that shit, man. I apparently I made up a new definition. I didn't just show you what it said, right? Like that's exactly why I do it. And here, we'll do it one more time, just to show you. Again, this is me making up something, right? I've made up Merriam-Webster.com. I made it so it says that.
Semitism. 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 Semitism.
There you go. Yep, look at me making shit up. Can you imagine being that desperate? I learned about the spelling change yesterday in your stream. It's crazy how many people automatically assume Semitic equals J. They're changing our language and therefore the way we think. That's why you of all people, I'm going to put the link in the description like I always do, to the movie called Hollywoodism. Go watch Hollywoodism. I think it's the greatest, like there are so many amazing videos out there, 6 Million Lies, and if you can even find it. There's all sorts of shit out there, but these are all created under this conspiracy theory guise, right? Hollywoodism was made in 1998, and it was a bigger budget film made by them bragging about what they've done. And they flat out tell you how they created and controlled Hollywood, and everything was very, very strictly under their control and regulations. And they created the America that we live in today. And really, when you think about it, I mean, we're nothing like those old books used to show us. I always think about, like, when you look at the old pictures of, like, any sort of downtown, the people are just driving. You never see car accidents, but the people are driving. There's no lanes. There's no, there's no stop signs. There's none of that shit. And yet everybody still managed to get where they needed to go back then, before they took over and controlled it. Yeah, I know you can find old dictionaries produced by old people, blah, blah, blah. I know words used to be spelled differently. I get that. I'm saying, when was the last time you heard the government had legislation, had hearings, had whatever, to change the spelling of a word? Like, this doesn't happen. And again, this word was spelled the same way for 140 years. And was specifically changed to hide the root of it. Because I know back in like 12, 13, something like that. That was when I first was like, hey, never noticed, but I know what anti means. What does Semitism mean? That means it has to be something. You can't have anti-something if this isn't something. And I that's when I first saw that, and I was just, holy shit. And I said it every time, every chance I could. I told people to look it up. You know, I take a lot of credit for them changing the definition. You know I'm not the only one, but I'm the only one I ever heard. You ever heard anybody else tell you to look up the definition of Semitism? No. Which is weird, because all I'm doing is telling you to educate yourself. I'm not telling you to do something stupid.
Well, the funny thing is, now that you bring it up, most people will ask other people what a word means and take them for their word.
Right.
You know, but
not Semitism. Semitism.
Nobody does that with you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right. I must be wrong.
It's just kind of funny now that you bring it up.
But that's how it is with fucking everything. Everything. I mean, like you have to constantly be like, no. You have to like explain to people because they're getting upset or they act as though it's like everybody that argues about the submarines thing on here. Not fucking one of you knows a goddamn thing about submarines. If you did a report on submarines back in 8th grade or some you don't remember it. You don't know shit about submarines. Did you want to come at me like you do? Like I didn't spend 9 parts, going over it with a fine-tooth comb? Out in the open, so anybody that could tell me I was wrong about something could, if they could. And it just didn't work that way. Most of this shit, it's funny, like if I were to be making a video that showed my journey of becoming a professional basketball player, and for the last however many years, you could go back and watch as I first started teaching myself how to dribble, could only dribble with one hand, to eventually, getting good at dribbling and dribbling with both hands to the point where now I can dribble with both hands equally. And you saw me shooting rep after rep. You saw hours of me practicing basketball for years. If I then said, I'm better than you at basketball, most of you would be like, yeah, okay, I can accept that.
He's been posting videos practicing for years.
Right. I can see his work. I can, he's better than me. But if I say that I'm smarter than you, especially when it comes to this particular field, everybody wants to act like that's impossible. Like you haven't been watching me educate myself. Right, you take it as an insult. Why? Why would you take it as an insult? Do you just think you know everything more than everyone? I mean, it's fucking stupid. If there wasn't episode after episode of me showing you, and literally that my education doesn't come from any sort of conspiracy theory. My education comes from reading what they want us to know. I'm literally reading you a locked up Wikipedia page. It's locked up because that's the way they want it to that's what they want it to say, and they don't want us even fucking with it. Even though if you do have a page where it can be edited, and you edit it and it's something that goes against the narrative, within a few minutes the bots will catch it and they'll just erase your edit. It's really simple. But this arrogance, this fucking flat out arrogance, and at the same time, I sit here and I say, like, if I'm wrong, tell me how, tell me why. If you're right, tell me how, tell me why, explain your thing to me. Well, you're just going to pick it apart. Yeah, I do that with everything. I pick everything apart. I'm not just going to believe anything that they give me, because that's what I've figured out. Is that after all this time, everything we think we know, they give us. You really only know yourself, what's going on in your own fucking world. And that's even if you're honest with yourself. Most people aren't. But I live in a house with 3 people. I'm not arrogant or foolish enough to think I know those three people 100%? Hell no. The only thing I can truly say I know is what I experience. Everything else is told to me in one way or another. I've learned quite a bit following along these articles with you. Right. And that's the other thing. All you got to do is look it up yourself. Everything I'm reading, I don't have access to some top secret this, that, and the other. I'm not a fucking computer hacking genius. I'm 46, man. How well do you think I am with computers? How good do you think I am with computers? And my generation was the last one with the green screens. The generation after me, they're proficient with computers. I'm the last of the generation where we were like, what are these things? What do they do now? Okay, I can get by, but I'm not. My kid's better at it than me, and he never had a computer. Oh, let's see. The majority of fled. Yeah. Over the following decades, Israel's population increased greatly as the country received an influx of Jays who immigrated, fled, or were expelled from the Muslim world. Yeah, right. Following the 1967 Six-Day War, Israel occupied the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Egyptian Sinai Peninsula, and the Syrian Golan Heights. Golan Heights, gee, that's weird. Isn't that huge piece of land that Trump just decided belonged to Israel?
Yes.
I mean, it's so funny to me. It's like you talk to a Christian and they'll be like, well, I think it says, or I think this, or I think, and they have no real knowledge base of any of it. Everything I say, I'm like, oh yeah, isn't that like this? Well, what about like this? Another piece, another piece, another piece, another piece. At what point do you realize you're probably outmatched here? Israel established and continues to expand settlements across the illegally occupied territories, contrary to international law, and has effectively annexed East Jerusalem and the Golan Heights in moves largely unrecognized internationally. So, why? Why is that allowed to just happen? Why does the U.S. allow that shit to happen? John B., are we going to have to read fucking ad hominem again? Are you proving that you can't make any argument against what I'm saying, so you just saying stupid shit in return? Come on. It's okay. Ad hominem. Over and over. Like, again, how do you even act like I'm making shit up? Talk about desperation. You literally know I'm reading what... I just don't get... How do you continue to pretend like I'm somehow making this narrative up? You know what it is? It's because the narrative is so fucked up. So you can't... It's so indefensible that you have to keep going with I'm making it up. Because it can't possibly be this fucking bad. It can't possibly be this obvious. Yes, it absolutely is. After the 1973 Yom Kippur War, Israel signed peace treaties with Egypt, returning the Sinai Peninsula in 82, and Jordan. Signing peace treaties with Egypt, returning the Sinai Peninsula in 82, and Jordan. In 1993, Israel signed the Oslo Accords, which established mutual recognition and limited Palestinian self-governance in parts of the West Bank and Gaza. Think about that. They're allowed to have limited self-governance, meaning Israel still controls it. It's just under the illusion that the Palestinians do. But if anything goes against Israeli this or that, well, they'll shut it down. It's fucking amazing.
How to tell if you've been brainwashed. Do you believe you aren't allowed to say Merry Christmas? Do you believe Democrats want to take your guns? Do you believe kids aren't allowed to pray in schools? Do you believe that Facebook deletes religious photos because someone might be offended? Do you think the American flag can't be flown at schools or in the town square? Do you think there is a war on religious freedom? If you answered yes to any of these above questions, you have been brainwashed because none of them are true.
God, people are so stupid. Yes, you shouldn't be allowed to pray at schools. Like, you shouldn't get specific time to pray at school. If you want to pray, sit at recess and pray all you want.
All the fuck you want.
What does a...
Sit at your desk, close your eyes, and silently pray.
Right, what does that have to... why do you need an established arena and specific specialized treatment? And why does that have to exist for you to pray? People are so stupid.
So stupid.
It's just, it's crazy. It's weird to feel like you don't fit in and then not know where you can even go to fit in. Like, where could we go where people aren't this stupid? It's everywhere. Listen to this. Listen to this. So in West Bank, in the 2020s, here we go, it normalized relations. I highly encourage you to try to figure out what that fucking means. That's one of those things where you'll click on it and it'll take you to this one page, and then you'll read it and you'll see something else. You go, oh, let me click on that, and it'll take you to here, and then you'll read it and then it'll click and it'll take you back to here, and it'll just keep taking you around in this small circle. Normalized relations with more Arab countries. No, it didn't. We did. Do you guys understand what that all is? Like, all of you America First people and Trump supporters and yada, yada, yada. The Abraham Accords are Trump going around and signing deals with all these Arab countries so that they'll play. Why do you think no Arab countries are coming to the aid of the Palestinians right now? Because they've all signed these Abraham Accords, these normalization deals. Well, at least the leadership has, which they promised not to interfere if Israel ever did something like this, and allowed the Israelis to travel freely to their place, like Qatar or Bahrain. And because they did that, the United States then pays them. And each country has its own list of things it got initially, and then it gets every year. So on top of the $3.8 billion that we give Israel every year, we have to pay all these other countries money, military, this, whatever, so that they continue to play nice with Israel. And we literally get nothing out of it. They take our tax dollars. The country benefits from whatever we give it. Bahrain, let's say Bahrain was given 20 F-35 fighter jets, okay? There's something called a memorandum of understanding. And it's bipartisan, it's legislation, but it's not voted on. It's like what it is, legislation. And it states that Israel is to have the mightiest military in that region. And anytime that idea is unbalanced, or somebody gets some, it's up to the Americans to supply whatever Israel needs to maintain its superiority, its vast superiority, right? So if we give Bahrain 20 F-35 fighter jets, and I know that's not an accurate number, I'm just saying, it was something along these lines. It was a lot more, actually. If we give Bahrain 20 F-35 fighter jets so they play nice with Israel, we then have to also give Israel 35 F-35 fighter jets because of that memorandum of understanding to offset the fact that Bahrain was given some shit. Like, it's your brother's birthday, but you have to get a present too because you're a spoiled little brat and you're not allowed. You can't handle the fact that a kid's getting presents and you're not.
As a kid, that's hard. But as adults, that should be a no fucking brainer.
It shouldn't be hard. As a kid, it shouldn't be hard. On your birthday, you get presents. On their birthday, they get presents. Have some fucking self-control. But understand that this is the way this shit works. That is the memorandum of understanding. That fucking exists. That's along with the memorandum of understanding that says Israel gets $3.8 billion a year. That number gets adjusted every 10 years or so. It had been every 10 years, and then in 2016, it was ratified to the 38 billion over 10 years. And there were two stipulations, two concessions that Netanyahu had to make in order to get that 38 billion over 10 years, or $3.8 billion a year. The first one was that Israel had to use that money to buy weapons from us. Because forever that had been the ruse, that Israel is strengthening the American economy by buying these weapons from us. But the reality is, it's just us giving them the money so that they can give it back to us. It's a fucking ruse. It's trick the American people. That's literally all it does. Plus, they get a lot more money than they actually spend. The second thing was that they weren't allowed to ask for any more money until what would be 2026, until it was over. Now, it's really hard to sort of follow what happens because in 2020, it seemingly got ratified again. And then in 2021, Biden had to sign it too or some, I don't really know. But when it was ratified again, the article that I was reading was the exact same article. They copy and pasted the exact same article from 2016, except in place of the concessions were now gone. And it now said, along with this 3.8 billion, we're going to also leave a cache of weapons in Israel that Israel is allowed to use at any time. So it went from we give Israel money so they can buy weapons from us to strengthen our economy to now we give them money and weapons. For what?
Strengthen our economy. Duh. They already told you.
I mean, it's mind-numbing how fucking crazy that shit is. It's so obviously, like, again, I'm not some super sleuth. I'm not the guy that's cracking the internet. This shit's all available to you. Any of you can find any of this shit. All you got to do is look it up. Like, they don't even hide what they're doing. No Israelis died on October 7th. And none of them were taken hostage. All the hostages that you just saw get released, that were supposedly hostages for well over a year, how many looked like it? How many were gaunt? How many were skinny? How many didn't have this chinny thing here? How many had any sort of bruises or marks or anything? None of them. Because they weren't really hostages. Yuck.
One more. I gotta go swing by Alyssa's for a little bit.
So that's what normalizing relations is. I guess. And that's, again, you can't find any sort of actual definition. You just have to put it together. Normalizing relations. Think about how crazy that is. What a crazy term that is. Normalizing things.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, it stinks.
It's real bad.
Look at this. Not one fucking... All these people are mad at me. But not one can tell me why. Why are you so mad? What has you so angry about learning? Think about how crazy that is. Like, I can't imagine... Like, there's so many videos that I happen to come across throughout the day that I'm just like, I don't like this. Move on. What am I going to sit there and watch it and be like, meh, yeah, pay attention to me? Hang on. All right. Oh, God, we got this chief dumbass here. This guy is a fucking douche. Seriously, it's so incredible how stupid these people are. Like, for you to be so stupid you stand out amongst this sea of stupidity, that says a lot. It says a lot. But just think about how, why would who in the world is going to be mad at someone talking about this shit? Does it make sense? Do you think Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, regular people just doing nothing, atheists, do you think anybody's going to get mad and be like, you need to stop talking about these things. I can't tell you why, but you need to stop talking. Who's going to say this shit? It just doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes perfect sense. It doesn't make any sense the way we're supposed to think. The way we're supposed to see things, we're in this free country and there's not some J conspiracy and blah, blah. It just doesn't make any sense. Anyway. In the 2020s, Israel, normalized relations with Arab countries. However, efforts to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict after the Oslo Accords have not succeeded. Gee, that's weird. The thing that succeeded was giving Israel all the power, control, money, and everything they want. The thing that didn't succeed is giving the Palestinians life. Because they're part of a genocide right now. U.S. Liberty from our... There you go. USS Liberty from our greatest ally. I love when people make the greatest ally comment. And I always... Like, how? Give me an example. Tell me one thing where Israel benefited the United States in some way. And then there's the USS Liberty that if you want to talk about a conspiracy and a cover-up, that's like, it's funny how there's no movies about it. It's funny how no one ever talks about it. It's never brought up in the news. There's never any remembrance of it or anything. And this is like as crazy as it gets. A communications ship was off the coast during the Israel blah blah, but whatever one war it was, the Israel-Arab War. I think it was the '67 war. And the ship was well known to be out there. They were flying the American flag, blah, blah. Israel repeatedly attacked this ship for hours, launching, aerial attacks over and over again. The governments found that Israel was completely innocent and it was just a miscommunication. Like this one time in the history of the whole thing, all these communication errors happened and all these failures happened that nobody ended up getting in trouble for. And yet all of the soldiers on board say it was absolutely a purposeful attack. That they could see that as the planes drove by or made the passes, they could see the people looking down, looking at them and laughing. And like, it's a really, really horrible fucking story. But again, let's. Oh, hey, look, Austin came back. Wanted to get his ass kicked a little more. God, this guy's dumb. Yeah, because Zionism and the J faith aren't hand in hand. Yeah, it's me that's doing it, not them. You don't have guys like bitch ass, punk ass, piece of shit Michael Rappaport. God, what I wouldn't give. Do that one. Let me have the debate with Michael Rappaport, Jerry Seinfeld, and John Lovitz. The three guys that came out and told you flat out, if you oppose the genocide, if you want Israel to stop killing people, then you oppose Jayism. They said it, not me. They're the ones that are telling you. It's them and us. That's all it is. Michael Rappaport is the biggest piece of shit. Yep, look at me, boo-hooing and crying because I'm reading. I know reading is hard for a lot of you, and I know none of you would go live and read. None of you. But hey, it's okay. You keep hating me while watching me. Just make sure you share it and dislike the feed. Make sure you dislike it. Let's see. Look at how desperately they want me to stop reading this stuff. Why aren't they like, dude, this is the official sort of history. Why aren't they proud of what I'm reading and like, go on, keep reading. This is good stuff. Why aren't they proud of me? I'm reading what they want me to read. And the country has engaged in several wars and clashes with Palestinian militant groups. Because, there is no military. It's all fake. It's like Al-Qaeda or ISIS. It's the CIA funded and created Al-Qaeda and ISIS. It's the same thing. Anytime Israel needs the boogeyman, Al-Qaeda or Hamas, Hezbollah, they just show up out of the blue. The Palestinian militants. Israel practices its occupation of the Palestinian territories. Israel's practices in its occupation of the Palestinian territories have drawn sustained international criticism because everybody's just lying. They're just lying and they're anti-Semitic. That's it. I know they're like supporting one part of the Semitic people because the Palestinians are Semitic people. So saying someone's anti-Semitic doesn't seem like it makes much sense, but okay. But that's because, again, like even the most conspiracy page won't tell you that Semitism is supremacy by definition. Therefore, you should be proud to be anti-supremacy, anti-Semitism. They want you. Why don't they just say anti-J? When they mean anti-J, why don't they just say anti-J? Why does it have its own word? I can tell you. Because they don't care if you believe in their nonsense. They don't care. What do they care if a bunch of monkeys believe their stories and shit? What they care about is that you believe in Semitism, which is policy or predisposition favorable to them. They would rather you be a Christian and think that, that your Christian God's only son, your superhero Jesus, was killed by God's chosen people. Like, that's what they want you to be like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. They killed the ultimate good guy. Yup. That makes sense. They must be his favorite. Sustained international criticism along with accusations that it has committed war crimes. I mean, seriously, how many accusations and videos of those war crimes can exist before something comes of it? Like, it's fucking crazy. It really is crazy. How does that happen? War crimes and crimes against humanity against the Palestinian people from human rights organizations and UN officials. But because Big Brother US backs up everything they do, nothing ever comes of it. The country's basic laws establish a parliament elected by proportional representation, the Knesset, which determines the makeup of the government headed by the prime minister and elects a figurehead president. A figurehead. You know what a figurehead is? Nothing. It's a trick. The queen is a figurehead. They have no actual power. They're just there to make you think that something is important. Israel is the only country to have received official language, to have revived official language, Hebrew. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that Hebrew is the youngest language in the world? Which also happens to go along with the idea that maybe, just maybe, the narrative isn't as true as you think. You know, so much of J history doesn't exist because apparently it was oral tradition. They just told the story forever. Oh no, it goes back to the thousands of years BC. They have been persecuted for 5,000 years. I saw this episode of Archie Bunk. It's funny how Norman Lear, who is cited as being this super creative genius, who basically took successful shows over in the UK and adapted them for American television, creates All in the Family. All in the Family is about, they love portraying, poor white trash. Like, look at Roseanne. The entire cast of Roseanne is Jay, playing poor white trash, except for Dan Goodman, the one with the J name. Funny, huh? But Archie, Carol O'Connor, is the only one who's actually non-J. Edith is a J. Gloria's a J. Meathead's a J. He's surrounded by J's. And he's your typical American bigot, blah, 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 blah. When they redid the show because everyone left because it was an awful, awful, horrible fucking show, it was retooled as Archie Bunker's Place. He is the bar owner, blah, blah, blah. Well, in order to keep with tradition, Archie's bar partner is Jay. And so is his live-in niece, who is like, he somehow has custody of the niece now. And that's like his daughter. But she's Jay, practicing. So he has to take her to temple and all these things. Well, one episode, it starts, and it's like really somber, because it starts with the temple has been attacked. The standard spray painting swastikas on the windows. And there's smoke coming from somewhere, but it never really gets, like, nothing was ever burnt down or anything. But it was apparently, it was this big deal, neighborhood big deal. And so that the little girl says to the business partner, "Why is this happening?" And he looks at her all serious. And he grabs her hand and he sits down. "We have been asking this question for 5,000 years. Well, you only killed Jesus 2,000 years ago, so what happened in the previous 3,000 years? Maybe it has nothing to do with Jesus and has more to do with the baby penis cutting and sucking, huh? Along with all the other horrible shit. Maybe? No? Maybe? No? No? I can't stand Norman Lear. I wish I could lead a campaign against the glorification of this piece of shit asshole. Oh, he's such a brilliant guy. Him and a room full of J writers come up with a show, Good Times, about what it's like to be black and living in the projects in America at the time. And it's such a bad show that the stars keep leaving. And at one point, John Amos, who was an ex-football player and like a proud fucking black man, like the stories are horrible. Like what we saw was what they couldn't get them to stop, right? Like the John Amos in Florida, whatever her fucking nasty name. She's so ugly. Oh, she's the ugliest woman I've ever seen. She they constantly had problems with things in the show. I'm not gonna say that. That's not how it was. Blah 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 blah. And these Jay writers who grew up with silver spoons in their mouth were like, no, this is funny. You gotta say it. And there was constantly issues. And Amos was known as a problem. He was a problem because he wouldn't just shut up and dribble. He was always like, I'm not saying that. You know, this is racist. You can't do this. Well, one day, during like a reading, he was like, look, I'm not saying this. This thing crosses the line. Who the fuck, what are you doing? Who wrote this? Well, I wrote this. And you're going to shut up and dribble. And he was like, no, I'm not. And he pushed up on the guy and pushed him up against the wall and said, if you want me to say this, I'll say it, but we're going to step outside first. And so they fired the star, not the Jay writer. Because, again, according to Hollywoodism, the writer is king. And it's right there. They rub it in your face as much as they fucking can. So, did you guys know that, again, Hebrew is the youngest language on the planet? It's the newest language on the planet. There are pictures of the guy who invented it. His name is Eliezer Ben Yehuda. And his son is said to be the first person to speak Hebrew. Think about how crazy that is. So you just invent the language, and it's basically Arab. If you took Arabic and you put a mirror up to it, it's basically Arabic, because that's all they do is they steal everything. So why wouldn't they just steal this? But it's just Aramaic, just reversed. And it's so fucking crazy. It fits the narrative that it's, they're not this ancient cult like they want us to believe. Thing is, once you get to that point where you start thinking about resets and understanding that resets happen, and clearly we didn't build all the shit that exists. We didn't build star forts. We didn't build all the skyscrapers and shit from the 1800s. We weren't pulling half boats on rail cars over mountains with donkeys before we figured out how to build a bridge. Figured out how to take them over the mountain with donkeys. Submarines, come on now. Anyway. Israel is the only country where Jays constitute more than 2% of the total population. The only country in the world where they make up more than 2%. So when you think about it, so when I always say make up 2 to 4% of the U.S. population, I guess I'm wrong. It's just 2%. Why is it always so important that candidates appeal to the J population if they only make up 2%? And that means only about 1% can vote. If you could get every J to vote for you, and that only made up 2%, why would you care? That if that doesn't scream conspiracy, I don't know what does. We give Israel $3.8 billion a year, more than any other country per year, and they only make up 2% of our population. You still don't think there's a conspiracy here? Its culture comprises of J-ish and J-ish diaspora elements alongside Arab influences. Israel is one of the largest economies in the Middle East and the third highest nominal GDP per capita in Asia.
In Asia.
They have the third highest nominal GDP per capita in Asia. Per person, they have more gross domestic product per capita than every other country in Asia but 3. I mean, I would say I assume that's China and Japan, but then...
But there's always starving Jews. So they must not. In the commercials, we have to send them the blessing boxes.
The forgotten Jess. I am Rabbi Yael Eckstein. She's awful.
There's so many
She's the worst.
That we have to send them food, so that must be wrong.
We have to send them a pepper. So by the time that yellow pepper gets there, it's going to be good to go.
Because, the yellow pepper that's been shipped to us first, and then we could ship out.
The whole thing is bullshit. The International Fellowship for the Christians and Jays is bullshit. They don't ever help the Christians. I don't ever see any commercials.
Blessing boxes for Christians?
Never. What about all those old people here that are eating cat food and shit because they can't afford to eat regular food? We should be shipping boxes of food over to all these. It's funny too how they're always overweight. Why are they always overweight if they're so poor? They'll have like gold earrings in. Their hands don't have any calluses or marks or anything. They look like old lady hands, but there's no marks. That tough life. She's reaching up to pour water in the thing and her hand is shaking so much she's spilling all the water. Come on. It's fucking crazy. And one of the highest standards of living in Asia. In all of Asia, they have one of the highest standards of living. One of the most technologically advanced and developed countries, which happens when you're given $3.8 billion a year from the United States, which turns into 15 billion shekels, that's their money, shekels every year. And that's just us. Canada gives them 2.1 billion. Canada gives them 2 billion. Australia gives them 1.2 billion. And then I mean, I can't imagine what Germany's on the hook for every year. How much the UK and the whole European Union is responsible to give Israel every year. How much do you think that is?
I'm going to go pee. I need you to come get the thing out.
It can stay in there. It's fine.
Alyssa's going to get in the front seat.
So put it in the back seat. She can put it in the back seat.
She can't.
Okay. Just have Nick grab it. It spends proportionately more on research and development than any other, and is widely believed to possess nuclear weapons, but we're not allowed to know. It's the only country in the world where they're allowed to say, fuck you, we're not letting you know. Yet at the same time, there's the Samson Option, which they say that if they're ever invaded and or destroyed, which invaded means me and a group of people could be invading them and give them the excuse they need. But they're the only ones that have that say that they're ever invaded or destroyed, that they'll launch nukes in every direction. They'll kill everybody. They have it on the record. Most Zionists don't believe in God, but they believe he promised them Palestine. No, they do believe in God. They do. Yeah, no, they do believe in God. The problem is if you believe in God, because then you're believing their nonsense. God is them. God, the Judeo-Christian term is God. It comes from their bullshit. You have to get past your Bible, because your Bible is one of the most powerful control mechanisms they have. Again, you believe that the people that killed your God's only son and your superhero are also your God's chosen favorite people. And you believe that because your Bible, which has their book in the front, you got to get through their book before you get to your book. And their book, and their beliefs, this is it. You make the best of your life. You step on whatever goyim you need to step on to get where you need to get. And you enjoy this life. For us, they tell us, don't worry, just let yourself be stepped on. Do as you're told. And when you die, oh man, guess what? You get to go to heaven. That's when it gets really, once you die, ooh boy, you go to heaven. It's going to be great. You're probably not going to make it in, because it's, I'm sure you had sex before you were married, right? Yeah, so you're not going to get in. But if you were to follow all the rules, boy, would it be fun. The state of Israel is widely believed to possess nuclear weapons. Estimates of Israel's stockpile range between 90 and 400 nuclear warheads, and the country is believed to possess a nuclear triad of delivery options by F-15, F-16 fighter jets. We gave them those. By Dolphin-class submarine-launched cruise missiles. And by the Jericho series of intermediate to intercontinental range ballistic missiles. Yeah, those Jericho missiles, those are fun. Its first deliverable nuclear weapon is thought to have been completed in late 66 or early 67, which would make it the 6th country in the world to develop them. Let's talk about just in policy. Let's see if policy mentions the Samson option. I'm not reading all this. Seems like there it is. Samson option. Strategically, Israel's long-range missiles, nuclear capable aircraft, and possibility its submarines present an effective second strike deterrence against unconventional and conventional attack. And if Israel's defenses fail and its population centers are threatened, the Samson option, an all-out attack against an adversary, would be employed. Its nuclear arsenal can also be used tactically to destroy military units on the battlefield. The Samson option. Go look up the Samson option. I'm telling you. The history of Israel. Prehistory. Early hominin presence in the Levant, where Israel is located, dates back at least 1.5 million years on the Ubediah prehistoric site. The Skul and Quechazes hominins dating back 120,000 years are some of the earliest traces of anatomically modern humans outside of Africa. Oh, Chubby! Yeah. Any way you can get it for me? The Natufian culture, which may have been linked to Proto-Afrostatic language, emerged by the 10th millennium BCE, minus 1,000, followed by minus 10,000, 10,000, followed by the Gasulian culture by around 4,500 BCE. This just gets dumb. All right, I'm actually done here. We'll have to come back to this. I want you guys to have a great day. Go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. I'm going to put a link to Hollywoodism, which I wish you guys would all watch it. Whether you agree with me or not, go watch it, and then tomorrow we can talk about it. Otherwise, pedophiles, kill yourself.